Alright, welcome back. Today we are going to be going over patch 22 in Nine Kings. So this update is giving us a lot of cool new things. This will include treasure chests, going over the patch notes, and the 22 new decrees. And I'm not just going to read off their names, I'm going to show you what they do. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first up is treasure chests. When you load into a new game, you will see treasure chests on your map. These are in a plot, so you normally have two plots with treasure chests. Now it looks like they have two chests on each plot, but it's one treasure chest. And when you open it, you get loot from your king. You get a loot event like normal. There's 3 cards to pick from, and you can reroll those, and they are from your king that you are playing. Now you might ask yourself, how can I get more treasure chests? Well, I have good news for you. The one new universal perk that was added is Scavenger. Your kingdom starts with +1 treasure chests. So you normally start with 2 treasure chest plots. If you put the Scavenger perk in ×1, you'll get 3 treasure chests total. I like to multiply my universal decrees with the moderate perk, which says all universal perks are now ×2, no more, no less. So then you would start with 4 treasure chest plots that you can unlock. You can unlock them either by picking the plot during a tower event or by earthworksing and unlocking that plot that way. There are 25 plots total, and if you want 1/5 of your plots or 5 treasure chests, you can use Leftist Verticalist to get 3 additional treasure chests for a total of 5 treasure chests. Now, you'd be sacrificing other things in your slots by doing this, but that is why I normally do moderate with the universal perks so that you can have ×2. You get 4 treasure chests. It's very nice. Every single run and every single king, you have 2 regularly. They spawn in different locations every run, so it's always new and exciting to figure out how you want to unlock those as quickly as possible or strategically wait. So let's talk about one of the 22 royal decrees that were added to help with the treasure chests and make them better. This royal decree is a rainbow royal decree. It is called Relics. It says all treasure chests are turned into rainbow chests. Whenever you unlock a treasure chest plot, you get 1 loot event with 3 cards, and you can reroll like normal. This just replaces the cards that are normally from your king with rainbow cards, like a regular rainbow loot event. So this is a great way to strategically hold off on unlocking the treasure chests and then turn those into rainbow loot events. So potentially you could get 4 or 5 additional rainbow loot events by just getting this relic royal decree along with that scavenger universal perk. For this scavenger perk, if you do not have it unlocked, just keep playing and leveling up your kings, and the level ups will eventually get you scavenger. The universal royal decrees are unlocked in a random order for everybody, so you just have to keep playing to unlock them if you don't see it. So 4 new rainbow royal decrees were added. So that first one was relics. Let's look at the other 3. Next up is magic bricks. So it says that towers can now get enchantments, gains 3 random compatible enchantments. This will allow you to put enchantments on your buildings. So I think that's really cool and very interesting. Next up is yield. So it says get +9% of your current gold every year. Now this scales with your gold. So if you watch the top left corner where your gold is, every year it scales for 9% of your gold that year, and you get that. So if you have 100 gold, you get 9 gold. If you have 1,000 gold, you get 90 gold. If you have a ton of gold, you get a ton of money. So this is really crazy on King of Greed, especially because that buffs your mercenaries and your dispensers, and it's just a lot of gold that you get. So this was a really fun one to get. And last up is Invisibility. It says ranged troops no longer take damage, but also no longer stops enemies. So if you see here, my elves and my boars like kind of turn translucent, and the troops just run right past my whole ton of troops because they don't stop them from going to my base. Which, not to throw this randomly in here, but they did change it so that Randomfy, the rainbow card, can change your base. You used to be able to change all different kinds of plots into plots that shared that card type, except for your base, and now your base is able to do that. But be careful because, I mean, for example here, the Treant would be so much more helpful. And I had taken a decree that buffs the Treant, and now it's a Citadel, and it's not really helping. So, yeah. Also, be really careful with this Invisibility Royal Decree because unless you have a lot of melee units, I feel like these guys really just ran right to my base, and I lost very quickly after I took this Royal Decree. Next, let's go ahead and go over the one universal Royal Decree that was added, and that is Conscription. So it says every plot with troops now gains +1 unit every year. This is really, really nice. You basically have a free level 1 farm for all of your troops. And this pairs really, really nicely with Mob from King of Nomads, which says that they gain a unit whenever an adjacent plot gains a unit. So they get a unit per year, and then all of their adjacent plots, if they have troops, gain a unit, and then they gain that unit as well from them. So you could potentially get 5 new troops a year from a single mob plot just from Conscription if you surround them on all 4 adjacent sides with troops. So this is a really cool universal decree that they added that I'm very happy with. So that's it for the Rainbow and the Universal Royal Decrees. Let's go ahead and go king by king. First, let's look at the King of Nothing Royal Decrees. First, we have Agronomy. This says, receives +1 farm card for each occupied plot in your kingdom. This is nice because you can have a full kingdom and get a bunch of farms for each plot. So that's just a nice way to quickly scale your troops and have a lot of cards in your hand. Next, we have Smith Tower, which says Scout Towers now give +2% damage to adjacent plots, and Blacksmiths now shoot arrow projectiles. So this does not swap their mechanics, but it adds it in addition to what they are already doing. So the Blacksmith gives the 2% damage boost per level to adjacent plots like normal, and it shoots arrows. And then the Scout Tower also gives the 2% damage boost to adjacent plots, but in this case it was next to 2 plots that can't get damage boosts, but it keeps shooting its arrow, and the Blacksmith gives damage and shoots its arrow. So this is a really cool one. Next up is King of Spells, Witchdoctors, which says Shamans now also increase targets' HP based on their HP. So Shamans normally have their damage, and they use that damage to boost other troops' damage. So now you can also boost other troops' HP based on the Shaman's HP, which is really, really cool. Next up is King of Greed. So first up is Servitude, which says mercenaries no longer get fired. Now, this is an interesting way that this works. So mercenaries normally get fired if you don't have the gold to pay them. Mercenaries cost 15 gold. If you have 15 gold in the bank, it's 1 mercenary. If you have the Tycoon perk, which here I have Tycoon times 2, so mercenaries cost 2 less, so 13 gold each. When you spend gold, normally your mercenary troop number goes down because it's directly correlated, right? They get fired if you can't pay them. But with Servitude, they don't get fired. But this does not work as in you fire them and then you get 15 more gold, or 13 in this case, and then you get a new mercenary. It just stays until you get like your max gold up. Let's take an easy example. If you have 150 gold without the Tycoon perk, so 15 gold a mercenary, you have 10 mercenaries. If you take Servitude and then spend a bunch of your money, you will still have 10 mercenaries. But when you get 15 gold, as long as you're under that 150 gold threshold, you do not gain a new mercenary. Your mercenaries just are not fired. Once you hit 165 gold, which is 15 above 150, you'll get 1 new mercenary, so you'll have 11 mercenaries. Then you can never have under the 11 mercenaries because they will not get fired. So basically, Servitude just takes the maximum gold you've had at one time and makes that the new threshold for your mercenary numbers. So I hope that makes sense, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next King of Greed Royal Decree. Next up is Mecenate. I don't know how to say it. but it says receives +1 overinvest card for each occupied plot in your kingdom. So if you have 9 occupied plots, you're going to get 9 overinvest cards. This could be really interesting if you have 25 occupied plots of the 25 available, and then you get a chaos card like Chaos Rewind, where when you throw it in the pit, you get a chaos card for every card in your hand. So that can be interesting, but the overinvests in general are very nice to have. So yeah, if you have lots of money and you want a bunch of overinvest cards, this Royal Decree is for you. Next up is King of Nature. He has 2 new Royal Decrees. The first one is Heartvine, which says treant attacks now heal allies beyond max HP. So that means it can heal them and basically kind of give them like a shield, I guess you could think of it as, since it can heal it above their max HP, which is really, really nice. So that really buffs the treant and its healing. The second new Royal Decree that was added for King of Nature is Gigafunghi. So this says fuses all your current mycelium spores into a Giga Mushroom with double stats. So this is not going to merge your plots, but if you see here where on the battlefield there were previously spores, once battle commences, you see these little like guys and they are shooting the spores that are from Gigafungi. So they do a lot of damage. They do more damage than your spores, and then your mycelium continues to make new spores, and they are regular spores. Next up is King of Stone. He actually got 3 new Royal Decrees. The first one is Distillery. Cauldrons now affect all plots around it, including those that are diagonally adjacent. So this adds 4 extra plots that can be affected by the poison of cauldrons, and that is really, really cool. As you can see here, my flamethrower would normally not be able to get the cauldron poison, but since I have Distillery, it's able to get it and spew poison. The second Royal Decree that was added for King of Stone is Brickmaster, which says it doubles HP of all wall makers. So this works if you take it and then you put down a wall maker. Normally, a level 1 wall maker starts at 600 health, so Brickmaster just makes it 1200 health to start when you place that down, which is really nice. I would assume also that if you had existing walls and then took Brickmaster, your HP of those walls would increase, it would be doubled. I should note here that when you upgrade a wall, it's a 100% HP boost, which is the same as doubling the HP. So basically, you are just getting an extra level on all of your walls. But this can be very nice if you've built up walls with forests so that they have a lot of HP, or with shields, temple, anything that's boosted their HP, and now you are doubling it. But it's just a nice to have to get an extra level on all your walls, basically. And his last Royal Decree that was added is Monopoly, which says Quarry now only buffs 1 single target. Target is buffed by plus 10% damage. This is very interesting, as quarries normally give plus 2% damage to all towers and your base in your kingdom. Monopoly now makes it a single target, so that single target changes every year, just like how a temple would proc basically. It changes the target every year, but you get plus 10%. So if you have a level 1 quarry, you get plus 12%. So every level on the quarry, you get a 12% boost on a target, and it can target different things, just like the temple. So if you have a level 3 quarry, it could hit the same building 3 times in 1 year and do plus 12, plus 12, plus 12% damage, which is a lot of damage. Or it could pick 3 different targets. So if you put a bunch of quarries down in the Monopoly, yeah, they're not all getting 2% boost per level every year, but you are getting an extra 10% damage per level on your quarries. So it's really, really nice. Next, let's look at King of Progress. One Royal Decree that is not new but did get a change is Futurism. So it says all troops now have no max level. Before, it was all progress troops have no max level. This just allows you to play other kings' troops and go beyond that level 3 threshold that is normally the cap. So that is very nice. King of Progress got 1 new Royal Decree, and that is Rambo, which says executioners now shoot plus 1 enemy at once. So you basically get 2 shots for the price of 1. I kind of view it as a twin shot from the King of Nothing. So very similar, but for executioners. So they shoot 2 enemies. Next up is King of Time. King of Time got 2 new royal decrees. The first one is Fracture, which says travels 3 years back in time, and it does exactly what it says. You travel 3 years back in time, just like a portal would. The next royal decree for King of Time is Kintsugi. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it says that broken decrees are 3 times more powerful. As a reminder, broken decrees are if you pick a decree at a Royal Council event and then go back in time to before that Royal Council event that you've already picked a regular Royal Decree at, and then you go through time like normal, you progress the years like normal, and you go to that Royal Council event again, you get broken decrees instead of a regular Royal Decree event. So this just makes all of those broken decrees 3 times more powerful. So that can be very interesting when, you can pick off the top of my head, some of those broken decrees are like doing a loot event with cards or getting, I think there's a plus 1.234% damage. So that's all just 3 times more powerful, which is very interesting. And let's just quickly run through the rest of these patch notes real quick. There are some reworks here. So all decree stack caps were increased and tweaked. So all decrees are either a single use, infinite, or limited to 3 stacks. So those aren't specified here, but it's good to know that sometimes once you pick a royal decree, you can't get it again. For example, I think Reenchant from King of Spells is a single use royal decree, and that doubles the enchantments on all of your troops. So that would be an example of like a single use. An infinite one would be like Bunker or Sharp Blades, something like that. And limited, I think like Evil Pact might be a limited one on King of Blood. So it'd be very nice if they released a list of which decrees are single use, infinite, or limited, but we don't have that. So just know that sometimes you can pick one and it won't happen again. The next biggest change is that this trapper was revamped, so traps stay forever. They're triggered once a battle, and trappers will place 1 trap and then rush into battle. Each trap retains the stats the trapper had the moment it was placed on the battlefield, so that is very interesting. Converter summons now lure enemies like other summons, so as long as you have troops, all summons will be attacked, but after your troop count goes to 0, no new summons will stop enemies from rushing to your base. And speaking of summons, the pagoda now summons ghosts instead of imps. They behave the same way, but they just have a new name and visuals to be clearer about the fact that they're invulnerable, and they don't lure enemies, so your enemies will run past them to your base if they're the only thing left on the battlefield. And here you can see they're like little white ghosts, because they're ghosts. A really cool and broken change that was added is that Chaos cards are now on the Diversify decree pool after year 33. So Diversify gives +3 card choices in your loot events, and it contains cards from all the kings you're currently at war with. So now you can just get Chaos cards like every single year. So it's really fun and really broken. They also did some balancing here. You can go ahead and pause and read if you're interested in reading all of these, but some that I want to call out include the Palace on King of Greed now deals 1% of its damage to bosses, so they are no longer immune to it. Before, if your Palace killed all of the other troops in a boss battle, it would just shoot the boss and they'd be immune and take no damage from it. So now at least it does 1% of its damage. Your Palace is probably going to be at minimum around like 1,000 damage. So 1% of that is 10 damage. But 10 damage is 10 damage, and of course you can always buff your Palace to do more damage. King of Blood got a lot of buffs here. Attack and movement speed are faster on summons. Initial damage and attack speed increased on the Mangle. Imps got their damage increase. And then Bombers got HP increased by a lot so that they can try to make it to their target before they explode and deal damage so that they don't get killed by ranged units. So that's pretty cool. Executioner got a crit chance that's 4 times higher. The Bastion now has a bigger area of effect and deals an additional damage, which is very, very nice. Hourglass says that its attack speed was mildly increased, but when I put down a level 1 Hourglass, it still had a 0.1 hits per second, so I'm sure that it's 0.1 something in the background, maybe, and it got mildly increased, or maybe that change just had a rough time actually taking place. But last I checked, its attack speed was the same. Amplifiers from King of Time I don't typically use, but they no longer work with the bunker and engineering decrees. And the biggest change, in my opinion, is the Randomfy that now works with base plots. Now, there were some royal decree changes that also happened, which are very nice, include Burglary on King of Greed gives 3 Midas touch stacks instead of 2. Wilderness forest plots now spawn at level 3 instead of level 1. Barricade on King of Stone, walls reflect 50% of damage instead of 10%, which is really nice. Futurism, all troops now have no max level. Loophole on King of Time now doubles the number of times an enemy is warped by Bastion attack every stack. It says, you choose it once, it does two times, then you choose it again, you do times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, and so on. So I assume infinite loophole you can pick. Big Bang on King of Time also, Hourglass first attack now stuns enemies for +2 seconds instead of 1 second. Some of the perks also got buffed, which is very nice. So Ranger on King of Progress, Executioner now gets twice as much damage, so they get 40% instead of 20%. Progressive on King of Progress, all progress cards can level up 1 more time, not just troops, so that's nice. Bellicist on King of Progress, all cards now start with plus 10% crit chance. Agile on King of Time is twice as strong, so 20% instead of 10%. Exiler on King of Time, warp units now move further away from your base. The one debuff is that King of Greed now starts with 9 gold instead of 30 to better match other kings early game, which you just have less gold, so that's unfortunate. But if you put a mercenary down, you can't have 0 mercenaries, so you will get 1 with 9 gold. Some of the quests got tweaked, so notably the enemy's strength scales slower for Blood Money, Nomad's Revolt, Blitz, and then the Siege on King of Stone. The Stronghold starts with a 50% damage boost, which is very nice. The devs are working on all kinds of good things, including more fixes, and the online ranked mode is in the works, so I'm excited for that. And shout out to the devs. When I was making this video, the King of Blood and King of Nomads new royal decrees were bugged and were not available. I spent so many rerolls trying to get them so that I could make this video, and they just weren't coming up. So I asked them if they were bugged, and they were, and hopefully this is fixed now. Also, shout out to Nine Kings. They are 50% off right now, so you can buy this on Steam for $9.99 instead of $19.99. It's a really fun game, so obviously if you're here, you might have already downloaded the game, but get your friends to play it, or if you're thinking about buying it, now is a great time. It's 50% off in Steam Shop. I hope that you enjoyed this comprehensive look at patch 22 on Nine Kings and enjoyed seeing all of the new royal decrees and fun treasure chests and random fies and all that fun stuff. If you did, please feel free to drop a like and be sure to hit that subscribe button. And be sure to check out my other videos where I play Nine Kings. I do lots of the quest modes. I am on my quest for beating 9-9 on all of the kings. And I also do a spin the wheel challenge where I challenge myself on different kings with different challenges. And as always, thanks for watching.